Hi, everybody. My name is Rodolfo Sanchez, and I'm an academic and career advisor here at Pacific University. Welcome to our another Thriving Thursday, and today's topic is the grad school dilemma, when and if to go. I am actually a Pacific alum. I graduated from here 10 years ago in 2014 with my bachelor's in environmental biology. And I'm here with four of my coworkers that are gonna go ahead and introduce themselves. And we could also each talk about our grad school journey too. Before I forget, I also went to grad school. I got my master's in higher education, higher and post-secondary education at Columbia University. But I waited 2 years before going back. So I will pass it over now to Christine.
Hello, my name is Christine Remini, and I am the pre-health advisor here at Pacific. I did not go to Pacific. I have a bachelor's degree with majors in bio and chem from a long time ago. And I also decided to go back to grad school in my 30s. So I have a master's degree in library and information science from the University of Alabama. Roll Tide, you have to say that if you go there. And I'm going to hand it off to Leah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leah Grice. I'm an academic advisor and then coordinate the academic success initiatives through our office. I was a Pacific alum, graduated in 2011 in sociology with a Spanish minor, and then also took a year off and to do some research and figure out what I wanted to do for grad school. So went back after a gap year, and I have a master's degree in education in higher education and student affairs from Oregon State University. I'll pass it to Selena.
Hello, my name is Selena Garber. I am the Community Relations Coordinator with Academic and Career Advising, and my role is helping connect students to job opportunities on and off campus. I have not gone to grad school, and I graduated from Oregon State University in 2023 with my degree in creative writing and a minor in sociology. And I'll pass it to Rose.
Hi, I'm Rose Dahl. I am an academic and career advisor as well and a practicum coordinator at Pacific. I'm an alum from 2013. I majored in sociology and French. Then I took a year off and then I went and got a master's degree also in library and information science like Christine from the University of Washington. And my TLDR is that I should have waited longer. In hindsight, would have done a different grad school journey. That's me.
Okay, so yeah, that's a little bit about each of us and our own journeys. And our job here today is to kind of dispel some myths about what it's like to go to grad school, the reasoning that people go or don't go, and to help you make an informed decision because it is, uh, it is a time-consuming and expensive endeavor, and you want to make sure that you're going in for the right reasons and you're going at the right time. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so one common myth is fear of the unknown. So, let's say you're in your junior or senior year and you don't know what you want to do for a career. And so maybe a train of thought is, hey, maybe I don't go, maybe I don't have to leave school so quick since life is scary. The safe choice would be to go to grad school, just, stay in that student mode for another few years while you figure things out. Well, the fact is, grad school can be more expensive than undergrad, and in most cases, and it also puts off figuring out what you like and don't like in terms of a career. The best way to figure that out is to actually, go out and try things and see what, make sure, and then even if you don't figure it out right away, you can at least figure out what you don't like and then go from there. Master's degrees also tend to specialize in a field. And so it's not like at Pacific where you take a bunch of core classes in addition to what you take for your major. No, almost all your classes are geared towards that one topic. And when you go neurograph program, you want to be sure that that's something that you're really interested in and that you want to do for a career. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. And you don't want to be left in a lot of debt and then still not have your career figured out. And so we have this quote from an alum from 2019 who studied public health, and it's okay for your life to look differently, and it may take time to figure it out. I recommend exploring the field you're pursuing first if you're not sure, and it's okay to change your mind or start over. And that's totally true. I mean, I came in thinking after I graduated from Pacific, I thought my end goal was I'm gonna get, work at a nonprofit for 2 years, go get my master's in teaching, and then become a teacher at my high school. And it was in my second year of my nonprofit work that I realized I did not want to do that. And I'm glad I waited because I would have gotten a degree in the wrong thing. So I switched gears to higher ed, which is what I'm doing now, and I love what I do. And so it took some time though. It took me being in a classroom and realizing that I wanted to work with students, just not the students, just a different demographic of students. But the only way I could have known that it was to actually, have some hands-on experience in that field.
Christine, you're on mute.
Thank you. Okay, this is my slide. What is your why? So for a lot of grad programs, they will literally ask you this in the application. Why do you want to be a blank? And you need to be able to talk about that in a deeper way. And if your answer is, I want to help people, that's not deep enough for them. So you need to think about this strategically and specifically. You need to be able to demonstrate that you understand what this field is about and what they do and what your role is in that. If you can't answer this question in a deep way, you're not really ready for the rigors of grad school and to dive deeper into a specific topic. So I want you to think about your why. The other whys that are really important for grad school is why now? Thinking about, okay, so I'm interested in grad school. Is now a good time to go? Should I take a gap year or two and get some real life experience? Thinking about from the grad admissions perspective, they want to bring people into their program that can also bring things to the table. It's a two-way street. So if you come straight out of undergrad, a lot of times it's not really known how well you can perform and how well you can work in a work environment. We can see how you do in an academic environment. And so it's really important to get some experience and think about what does that field or what does that profession do outside of the school and academic sphere? And can you really do that level of work? Do you know what a work day looks like for those people? And is it beneficial for you to get some work experience before you go to your program? Because you'll be able to bring in more stories and more things that you can contribute to in solving problems in grad school. The other question is why you? Are you the right person for that particular program? Should you be looking at different schools? And what values do you have that align with that field or that particular school? So thinking about why are you the right person for that job? Can you talk about it? Can you kind of sell yourself and talk about why you are a great fit for that field? What do you have in you and what do you love and what do you want to go deeper in? And does that actually match what you think you want to do? And then why that school and program? And this is really important. I think it's really important for students to find a school that fits them. You're buying a curriculum, you're buying the time with the professors and what you're going to learn, the connections and the networks that certain schools have. And so just choosing a place that has a nice geographical location isn't enough to spend that kind of money on. So think about, what does that school offer specifically that appeals to you? Is it a certain professor? Is it a part of their curriculum? What are the demographics of the school? Will you be able to find community and support in that location, in that particular school? And do you have what it takes to be a competitive applicant for that school? Being realistic about admission rates and what the overall GPAs are, thinking about where should you apply, where it would be a good fit for you, and making sure that you have different options. Maybe you have just one option that you're thinking of, but is limiting yourself in that way going to get you to the goals that you want to reach? So you need to be able to answer all of these questions. Why this profession, but why now, why you, and why that particular school? If you can't answer those questions in an articulate and deep way, then admissions isn't going to think that you're a good fit for their school. So you need to do it for yourself, for that confidence, but also demonstrate it for grad admission so that you can get admission to the programs that you want when you want it, and where you want it when it's time.
The next myth is that master's degrees guarantee higher pay. So actually, bachelor's degrees open doors to various industries, and it's really dependent on the field or career area of interest. Master's degrees aren't necessary for entry-level positions, and in most cases, you are paid according to the position's salary, whether or not you have a master's or not. So the preferred master's degree preferred concept or requirements for different job applications, that just because you have it doesn't guarantee that you get more pay than if someone comes in with a bachelor's degree, right? You meet the minimums. As long as you meet the minimums, the pay is going to be relatively the same. We did a survey of 20-ish, 15-ish. We sent out to more than that, but we got 20-ish responses around from alum who both have gone to grad school and have not. So this is just some of the data we gathered from the pool that responded to us. Some of these are Pacific alums, some of these are alums from other colleges, but you can kind of see the position they have currently, what bachelor's degree, and kind of the average hourly wage. So you can see it ranges from $18 an hour to $47 an hour, right? So really, it doesn't necessarily guarantee, and we can skip forward, you see the master's next. The range is $18 an hour to, there is $60 an hour, but I want to like clarify the doctor of physical therapy and the doctor of optometry is a beyond a master's level, right? So there's, if we're just looking at the master's level, the range is the same, $18 to $49, right? So with 18 to 47 with a bachelor's, it's 18 to 49 with a master's, right? So relatively the same. I think the piece here is do your research on your career area of interest, the industry research, right? I will say as masters in education, right? In this team, there's people on this team who are earning the same amount of money as myself who have bachelor's degrees, right? And so I think education is one that I can easily think of because I'm in it, but there's other fields out there that like relatively the pay is not drastically more for the amount of money you're spending on your master's program. So return on investment, kind of considering that. So doing your research, figuring out how much money on the back end, sometimes master's programs can tell you that, right? Like these are our alum and how much they earn, to just take that into account. Because a lot of times you can get, if you can articulate the skills for the job you're looking for, your education may or may not actually matter as long as you meet the minimums, right? So it's all about how do you talk about how you can do the job. So preparation for the actual interview, that is, I think, worth more on a resume and a cover letter than the actual education part, right? Showing what you can do and how it applies to the job you're applying for. And then I think we'll pass this one to Christine. Yeah.
Yeah, this is me. So a lot of people, some people think that this myth is true, that experience is less important than a degree. Having a degree in your wall is really, really important. But I will say experience is super, super important. I think experience is important even if you want to go to grad school. Experience is what can help you determine if grad school is the right fit for you before you spend a whole bunch of money on a degree. You should absolutely get experience in that field and see, is there a need for that higher level of degree? And also, you know, the experience, the skills, that it's what you can do and not the degree that hangs on your wall for a lot of companies that matters. Obviously, for a physical therapist, certain healthcare careers, you need the degree on the wall, you need certain certifications, but for a lot of careers, it's what you can do and the skills that matter more so than the actual education degree that matters the most. And so this goes back to research, figuring out, doing the research. For me personally, so I have a library degree and I worked in a couple of libraries before I went to grad school, and they were very kind of dysfunctional. And I thought, this shouldn't be how this is run. What does this look like if you are educated and you know, doing this in an evidence-based way? That's one of the reasons that pushed me to go to grad school, because I was working in this field without formal knowledge. And I thought, if I had some formal knowledge in this, that would really add to this job. And so I went into it with eyes wide open. I knew that there weren't a lot of job openings. I knew that grad school could be really expensive. So for me, I really prioritized finding an affordable program and getting scholarships. And I was able to get my master's degree for a very small amount of money. So for me personally, that return on investment worked out because I did that research, and it wasn't like a bait and switch. I feel like programs will advertise degrees and they will sell you a degree if you're willing to pay the money for it, but you might not need it. And so you might get a better return on your investment if you invest in skills and classes that would teach you skills instead of a degree. So again, this goes back to research. You're going to have to definitely research that and see what are the job openings, what is the growth projected for this field. There are lots of websites that can give you that kind of information, or you can talk to your career center advisor about this.
All right, the next myth is master's degrees, the money, right? It's necessary, it's a necessary expense. So similar kind of thought around return on investment idea, right? They're really expensive with less funding opportunities. So financial aid is more limited for grad programs than undergrad, and it can be really smart to think this through and like enter it as Christine did, right? Like knowing where your funding is, how to get the funding, what programs are affordable, comparing and contrasting different programs for like, I can get this education somewhere else for less expensive, but it's the same quality, right? It's this research piece. Some of the responses from our outreach to alum are here, which I think really helps illustrate this. So I wasn't able to get into the program I wanted to right away. I also had found a full-time job. And it was expensive to factor in my undergraduate debt. So that's someone who graduated from Pacific in 2002 with a history degree. And then now that I have an idea of the type of program I'd be interested in, I don't have enough financial security to pursue grad school at this time. So that was a graduate from Whitman College in 2014. So, right, like the financing piece is just a big piece to talk through and think through and strategize. And then some employers, when you're in there, like when you're in a job in a field and you're like, I love this, right? I want to pursue education in this field. Some employers will help support your grad school tuition. So taking the time and getting experience in the field, you might get some networking and some funding opportunities that straight out of undergrad you wouldn't have had access to because of the job you're in.
Okay, and then the final-ish, one of the last myths we wanted to talk about is the idea that I will definitely lose motivation if I take a break from school. I hear this one a lot, right? And I can definitely relate to it after working, straight K through 12 and then going straight into college. You're like, okay, I'm on a groove. I'm used to being a student, right? Like Rudy said at the start, it's familiar. I know I can do it well. And it's really hard to imagine taking a long break and having that freedom of a different lifestyle of not being a full-time student and then going back. And so I want to like nuance this a little bit because I think it's going to be individual for each person and there's some truth to it. But the other side of motivation, right, is thinking about burnout. And burnout is also very real and also something to consider if that feels like it's coming up for you as you're finishing undergrad or even in your gap year or gap years after undergrad. That if you're still feeling burnt out, I think that's really valuable information. That it's not a problem necessarily if the motivation is not there. And it doesn't mean like, oh, I just need to like push myself through and force myself to continue into grad school because I'm in my 20s or because I just finished undergrad, right? You can take time. So some quotes from our respondents. One here is saying, I'm still considering grad school. However, immediately after undergrad, I was incredibly burnt out and knew I needed a break. Then my interests started changing, and then I needed time to decide what I really wanted to go back to grad school for, right? So again, just speaking to that idea that like burnout can be really like helpful and can be like yourself and your body telling you to take a break, and then maybe it'll help you clarify which direction you actually want to go in. And another respondent said, I never planned on going to grad school. My goal was always to continue school through undergrad and then get a job. I was getting burnt out with academics by the end of my graduating year and figured I could always go back to grad school if I needed it for my career. Pacific University, class 2009, computer science major, and working as a systems application analyst at OHSU. So still working there. And these are folks, right, who ended up not deciding to go to grad school yet. So just want to normalize that like burnout is okay. And if you're feeling it, that's normal. Christine's putting in the chat, something to keep in mind is for your prerequisites. For a lot of healthcare and science fields, they will accept prerequisites that are 7 years old or less. Yeah, thank you. Do you want to say anything else about that, Christine?
Just you can absolutely take a super long gap. I took a very long gap. I started grad school, I think at age like 35. I didn't have prereqs in my program. But I do deal with some alumni that end up retaking some classes. Some retake them to get a better grade. But generally speaking, if that is a prerequisite situation for your particular program, they do mean it. They do mean 7 years. So if you decide that you want to go to grad school later and your prerequisites are old, then you can just retake them. It's important when you are seeking grad school because it's so concentrated in that topic that you have the most recent applicable information in the field. And that's one of the reasons why they want you to have the prereqs within those 7 years. So they've discovered new elements since I went to college. So, and you can imagine if I took those prerequisites from a long time ago and tried to apply them now, it can be really tricky to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I hear from lots of folks is that they actually have more motivation once they are further along in their career, right? So like you have just like a newfound motivation for engaging in grad school, and they get a lot more out of it because they've been working in the field for however many years, and that they're just way more motivated than if they were going straight out of undergrad and kind of just thinking of it as like the next academic step. Thanks, Selena. Can you do the next slide? So another thing related to this is that, yes, they're rejuvenated. Thanks, Leah. Is that taking breaks, right? Taking a break can really just give you that time to explore new paths after undergrad. So some really great quotes here. I realized during my senior year practicum that I didn't want to actually do what I had been working towards. Great information, right? So then I looked at what I did need education-wise for what I was pivoting to, and it was primarily relevant job experience, right? Not actually education to get those jobs. So that's a great example of someone doing their research, right? And then taking the step rather than just automatically going on to grad school. Another person says, I recommend exploring the field you're pursuing first if you're not sure, and it's okay to change your mind or start over. The skills I learned in undergrad have proven to be useful throughout my career, and I don't regret getting my degree. I love that accomplishment, especially as a first-gen student, right? So again, I think this is really speaking to the value of undergrad, no matter what your major is, right? Especially from a liberal arts school like Pacific, it's going to be applicable no matter what field you go into, no matter what type of work. And then master's programs, other grad programs tend to just be much more specialized. So it just really makes sense to make sure you're super intentional, super honed in on your why, like Christine said. Kind of related to this exploring new paths, I just want to speak to that there's kind of like an in-between and related to burnout and motivation as well. Because I think we had another respondent who really spoke to like, yes, I was aware that I didn't want to totally lose the academic groove. And so they took some classes for a couple of years, like post-bac classes at Portland State University. And that was a way to make sure they were still getting their academic familiarity, right? Like still in the groove of taking classes and doing homework, but they weren't full. Investing in a master's program like I did a year after undergrad is a pretty extreme step, and that there's just like a lot more in between ways that you can do it where you're maintaining your motivation, right? Like still exploring your paths. And it does like a grad program is just like kind of the most extreme investment. So there's in between ways that you can go about it. Yeah, so I think our take-home message is just do your research, right? So that means like doing online research, like we've suggested some different strategies here, but also the research of talking to people and getting lived experience. It's going to be relevant for you. So whether that's volunteering in this field, getting actual jobs in this field, so then you can talk with professionals who do and do not have grad degrees that you're interested in. These are all going to be ways to make sure that you're going into this decision super grounded, super intentional, and just know that there is no rush for doing this research either. There is no set timeline. It is very, very okay and great to take your time, wait, and explore, and don't feel like don't feel rushed. That's what I want to say. Don't feel rushed.
Does anyone have any questions? You also can put them in the chat if you're nervous about talking out loud.
I have a question. How do you, so say you take like a few gap years after college, how do you kind of like get back into the swing of things? Because I'm starting to do like shadowing and stuff, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. I'm graduating this year and I'm like, well, I should probably just go out into the workforce. How do you kind of get back in? I'm like afraid I'm gonna like fall into just like some career that I'm not gonna like, and then it's gonna be like 10 years down the line, I'm gonna be like, oh no, everything has expired from my degree and now I have to like retake a bunch of classes if I wanna go to grad school. I don't know if that makes sense, my question.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think when you want it, it's worth it. So like if you want it bad enough to do it, even if you have to jump through some hoops, like retaking some classes, the wanting to do it is the motivation that gets you through that part of like, God, I have to retake this class. And I think also you'll be competing against other people who have taken those classes more recently, but if you have that work experience, then that gives you an extra edge. I think a lot of people, when we spend so much time in academia, we just think more academics is better, but there's a balance there. Getting some real world experience is super, super valuable in a lot of ways. I think it's almost more valuable because that's how you really confirm for yourself that's what you want to do. I think there's definitely value in seeing that there's things you don't want to do. I myself have had a couple different careers. I had a career in biotechnology research. I had a career in libraries, and now I'm over here teaching and doing advising. So this is, for me, this is my third career. I don't regret any of my past careers. I wouldn't be where I am today without those past careers. And I definitely spent quite a few years thinking like, am I ready for grad school? Like I kind of wanted it, but I didn't want it bad enough to jump through the hoops to do it. And so I think it is a big commitment, and you will kind of know for yourself when you get to that point. I think if you have confusion about it, it's a no. You'll know it's for you because you'll be like, yes, I'm gonna do this. Does that help?
Yeah, would you like suggest I kind of, as I graduate, kind of keep in mind what I might be interested in and then start exploring that while I'm like in the workforce so that I get a better idea of what I
Absolutely.
actually.
Absolutely. So I teach classes in this. The best way to get information about the field is to talk to people who are doing that work. So if you think you might want to be a certain kind of professional 5-10 years in the future, share space with those people. If you're not working in that field, make time to network and meet with them. Ask for, like, invite them to coffee and just say, hey, I'd like to chat with you about your career. It seems kind of interesting and I'd like to know more. And then you'll get the tea, you get the good and the bad. Ask them what a bad day looks like at their job, and make sure you can handle what a bad day looks like and you still want to do it. Those are really valuable ways that you can spend your time, and also networking and meeting people. And then ultimately, if you decide it's not for you, that's okay. Then you can move on to the next thing and do it. You can repeat that process as many times as it takes. But also, I think life is long, and you might be like not interested in something right now, but maybe in 10-20 years you might have a shift in your values or something where it makes sense and it fits. And I think there's never a perfect time for it, but you will know if it's a thing for you.
Thank you.
The other thing I just wanted to pitch is that Pacific Career Advisors are available for alum. So I have alum come back to me every couple years and years later. You can come back 25 years from now if you want to chat with someone about pivoting, getting your foot in the door somewhere new. We're always going to be here for you.
Yeah, and then just kind of acknowledging straight out the myth that you have to decide what you want to do for your entire life, one career forever right now, right? Like Christine, thank you for mentioning you're on your third career, right? Like that we didn't really touch base on, but I feel like a lot of our society, we hear that, right? I have to know what I want to do for till I retire right now today. And I'll just tell you that I'm 35 almost, and I still am figuring out what I want to do when I grow up, right? Like I enjoy what I'm doing now, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it forever, and that's okay, right? We have our paths, again, in hindsight is 2020, right? I look back and I'm like, that makes sense. That's why I did that, and that's how I got here. And if you'd asked me at 22, it was really scary because you don't know what's going to happen. But I think trusting your instinct, Christine was mentioning that, right? Like you're gonna know when it's right for you, and if there's a doubt, then it's I love, right? Like you're once it's a yes, you'll know it's a yes, and so just knowing, listening, and trusting your own gut on that, I think, is super important.
Yeah, and I think this time of year is tough for seniors because it's a big transition coming your way. You know it's coming, but it's mysterious. You don't know what's past graduation for a lot of us. And that's a really uncomfortable place to be. And I think just acknowledging this is weird. And maybe my first couple jobs are not going to be great jobs. Your first job you get out of graduation is not a sentence for the rest of your life. I had a couple weird jobs on my journey. And while I was figuring some things out, I think a lot of us have. A lot of us had jobs. Our first couple jobs had nothing to do with our degree. And it can feel really not good to pay a lot of tuition and get a degree and then end up working in the mall. But that's not forever. Sometimes we have to hit some little stepping stones before we get to the bigger stones. Don't be hard on yourself. Life is long, and there's plenty of time to figure out what you like, and it's not absolutely not a failure to not know and to try things and not like them. Information is good, and whether it's, yes, I want to do this, or no, I hate this. It's all good information. And yeah, trusting your gut. I like what you said, Leah, about your instincts. If it's making you not feel good to wake up every morning, go to that job, that's your sign you need to change something.
Do you have any other questions? That was great.
No, I think that answered everything, but I probably should come into the advising center one of these days.
Come see us, a coin 129.
Yeah, what's your field of interest? What are you thinking about?
So I've kind of skipped around since I came here. I'm a kinesiology major, and then I kind of added on the psychology major at the end. So I'll be here another semester. So that gives me a little bit more time. But right now I'm kind of thinking occupational therapy, since that kind of combines both of them.
Come see me. Come make an appointment with me. I would love to chat with you about this.
Okay, can I email you after this, or?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
But yeah, so I'm doing some shadowing right now with that, but I'm kind of
Perfect.
unsure about it since I'm like shadowing a pediatric OT right now, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like the fit for me.
Mhm.
So
Cool, yeah. We can chat about this.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, is that all? Are we done? I
I think
we're
that's a
done.
wrap.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Allison. Thanks for being here.